Hello, you guys, and welcome to a reading vlog, my first one so far. Okay, I hope you're excited because I am too. Today, we are focusing on tackling my TBR, my never-ending TBR, because I keep buying books I don't need. I'm not exactly sure which books I'm going to be reading in this video because I am indecisive and I can't stick to a TBR, like, very firmly. The only book that I know for certain that I'm going to read is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. Now, I have already started this. Where am I? I am a whopping 26 pages in, y'all. Making progress. Um, so, being 26 pages in, I couldn't tell you a thing that it's about, really. Yeah. There's a girl who is, there's a girl. There's a girl. I'm on to the second POV. I think there's 4. I'm not sure. I'm waiting for things to turn gay. 26 pages in, it hasn't yet. Sad to say. But I think the other book that I'll be reading, at least in this vlog, is A Botanical Daughter, because I'm in the mood for horror. Okay, I did just read a little novella on NetGalley, which I love horror books, especially when they are novellas, because that's kind of all you really need for a good horror book. It does not need to be 1,000 pages. I'm looking at you, Stephen King. Okay, now this one is about like 370 or something it was, and it's blurbed by Delilah S. Dawson. Now, if you don't know the GOAT that is Delilah S. Dawson, you're missing out. Not only does she write amazing Star Wars novels, but she also writes amazing horror and lesbian horror at that, dude. If you need a quick little horror read Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. You will not be disappointed. You will not be disappointed. I love this woman. But Delilah said, I'm on a first name basis apparently now. Delilah said about this book, it is ripe, lush, and bursting with beauty and horror. It will delight, amuse, and terrify. Which, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like, all the time. So, I think I'm going to read those two. One that was not in my July TBR, because I just bought it, is The Hollow Places by T. Kingfisher, which is the last horror book that I'm yet to read by them. There is, I think, maybe a book or two that's fantasy that I haven't read yet, but this is the last horror book, and I've heard that it genuinely is, like, freaky deaky, okay? I've heard it genuinely scared people, so that makes me very excited. I know that T. Kingfisher can write, like, creepy and eerie things really good, but I'm yet to get truly scared. Okay, I did get pretty creeped out in House with Good Bones because of those children. Those children. I don't even like regular ones. I can't remember what they're called. The something. But those creeped me out. I have no clue what The Hollow Places is about because I don't like to read the back of books. I usually like to skim the back of the book and look for like a buzzword, and usually that does it for me. See, right here. Museum of Natural Wonders, Curiosities, and Taxidermy. And that would make me buy it. If I didn't know who T. Kingfisher was, that alone would make me buy it. I just need to hear little things like that. Also, with taxidermy, this had taxidermy on the back of the blurb too. Ooh. Oh. The audible reaction. The back of this book says the only way his plant beast will flourish is if he uses a recently deceased corpse for the substrate. An extraordinary tale of family, fungus, and more than a dash of bloody revenge. From an exciting new voice in queer horror. I didn't know it was gay. What the hell? Okay, we're like 3 for 3 on gay. Okay, the book I'm reading on NetGalley right now, also gay. Okay, um, it's The Last Soul Among Wolves, if you are wondering, which, the first book, The Last Hour Between Worlds, this got some hate. People did not like this book. I love this book. Ooh! Ooh! I loved this book so much. Dude, I read this in, it was either 1 session or 2 sessions. I read this book. It was so good. I love these characters, and I'm so glad that I got to read, well, I'm getting to read the second book before it's out. I love it. I hope I can get myself a copy that's hardcover. I was gonna order the Illumicrate because this is the Illumicrate one. I was trying to order the other one, um, but shipping to the US was about £19. Now, I like this book series, but not like $50 enough, you know? So, I'm not getting that unless someone posts it on Mercari or something. Okay. If y'all buy the Illumicrate, the Soul Among Wolves, if you buy that on Illumicrate and then you don't like it, let me know. Let me know because I want it. Okay? I want it real bad. Anyways, I'm gonna continue reading this. I'm gonna try at least get halfway. Maybe I'll read the entire thing tonight. Probably not. I'm feeling tired, so I'll get a decent amount into this book, and then I'll give you an update on how I'm feeling. But I'm gonna let you go, and I'm gonna go wash this makeup off my face and lay down. First and foremost, I would like to apologize if you can hear stomping and yelling and whatnot. My nieces and nephews are over right now. And I don't see them leaving anytime soon, so I'm just going to film this update now. Okay? So I have made it about 292 pages. I say about, but I am exactly 292 pages into this book. Now, it was a very fun start. I love women. I love women. So the start was just, if you've read this book, you know. I love the power that these women are gaining, the confidence, just the hunger and the want that these women have. And then they're fucking getting it. They're doing it. They're doing what they thought they couldn't. And I love that. But somewhere around like the 150 page mark, I was at a standstill. Okay, I don't know if this is a small spoiler, but I think everyone knows that this is lesbian vampires. So I'm just gonna say the part that I kind of lost interest was where, you know, Maria had turned into a vampire and she was kind of just exploring that. And it was kind of, when we meet Hector and Renata, was pretty fun, but as soon as that kind of ended, or like as soon as we got comfortable with them all being in this group of 3, I kind of lost interest. It wasn't, you know, things weren't moving very quickly for me. And I love high stakes. I love action packed reading, so it just wasn't doing it for me. So I did listen to the next a little bit over 100 pages on audiobook, and that definitely helped. I feel like I'm finally at a point with this book where I want to read the rest of it. Like, I'm willing to just go sit down and read the rest of it, which is always a good feeling. Obviously, when you're reading a book, you would like to enjoy it. Um, so right now, I think we're getting kind of down to business. At least from Alice's POV, we're getting down to business, which I like. And on the audiobook, I like both of the narration. Um, I don't know if it's two different people, but they both have different accents. So I'm assuming it's. I'm not assuming it's anything actually. I don't know. So I'm just a little bit over 50% of the way through, and I think I'm going to finish this book tonight. I mean, I have a decent amount of time to finish this. So it is Sunday. I wanted to finish this book like yesterday or the day before. Oops. I wanted to finish this book like yesterday or the day before, but shit happens, you know? Shit happens, y'all. So I just didn't do that. But I think I'm back on track. And if I finish this book tonight, then I am going to move on to the next book, which is A Botanical Daughter. Now, unless the writing just doesn't mesh with me for some reason, I feel like I'm going to do this in like 1 or 2 sittings, as I do with a lot of horror books. Because it goes pretty fast, usually. But anyways, I will update you when I have finished Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, and I'll give you my final thoughts. Okay, y'all, do not mind my appearance. Okay, my under eye bags are here. It is 12:30 in the morning, but I just finished this book, and I'm speechless, y'all. It was 5 stars. 5 stars. Somewhere around the middle, I was toying with the idea of it being like a 3.5 kind of thing. But just the character arc with Alice, that really did it for me. Like, the last 200 pages were amazing. I did find a little bit of that part boring, just the way that Charlotte kind of yaps like a lot, and she didn't really get to the point really fast. So it's like we've already, as readers, figured out basically what had happened, but she just kept yapping. So I kind of just wanted to get on with that. But overall, that didn't take away from the ending itself. I'm still very happy with how this book ended. It is exactly what I wanted to happen. Um, you know? So it was predictable, but I don't care. Kind of obsessed a little bit. I need more books like this in my life. So, anyways, this book will now be the front facing book on my V.E. Schwab shelf because I like this one a lot. And I think it's pretty. It's kind of really basic, but I think it's kind of pretty. So, okay, so I know I said I would be reading a horror book next, but I want to read this one instead. Because I think I'm just in the mood for fantasy right now, especially after finishing Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. That is just what I'm feeling. Okay, so I'm going to be reading The Phoenix King. It's a romantasy, kind of based like on Indian mythology. type shit. This book I thought was going to be longer than it is. It's actually only like 470 pages. I thought it would be a little bit over 500, so pleasantly surprised. I think this one should read pretty quick. The font is kind of just average size, so it's not really small. It is a tall paperback, but I think that should be fine. But I'm super excited for this. It's been how many books? It's been a couple of books since I read a romantasy, so I'm always excited for that. Anyways, like I mentioned before, it is 12:30, probably 1 o'clock in the morning at this point, so I'm gonna go to bed. And then I'll keep you updated as I read this book, okay? Okay, do not mind my busted appearance, okay? I just got out of school. My hair's dirty, and we're tired, okay? This just is what it is. But I wanted to give you an update on The Phoenix King. I am about, where am I? Probably very close to like halfway, a little bit over halfway, on page 248, and I'm loving this book. Okay, this book is exactly what I was expecting. It's fun, it's simple. I mean, like, it's kind of giving, if you've read Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong and Phyllis Things. Okay, they're actually backwards on my shelf. So I think those are the titles. I have read them both. I'm blanking, but this is giving very much that. Not in obviously all of the aspects, but where it's kind of like fantastical, almost kind of sci-fi in a way, you know, like science fantasy, I would say, but also romantasy. So that makes it even better. I will say, for the last 50 or so pages, honestly, this book, it's kind of just telling you everything, if you know what I mean. Like, things are just happening, which is my only downside with it so far. So far, it's not like taking away too much from the story. I will say, like, that's what's keeping it from being a 5-star at this point. Currently, I'm rating it at about a 4-star, just because it's kind of just, it's just telling you everything. Kind of, if you know R.F. Kuang and her writing, it's good, it's fun, I love it, it reads so good to me personally. But it's like we can't figure things out for ourselves, you know? Like, from, like, the author is just kind of telling us everything ever, without letting us come to conclusions on our own, or letting things simmer and letting us figure things out along the way. They kind of just tell you everything, and everything is like solved relatively soon. Because I'll say, like, pretty much every small conflict gets solved like right away. Like, obviously, we have this main conflict going on throughout the story, which is like, you know, the kingdom, what's best for the kingdom, who's the bad guy, and like that's, we're still working through that part, but like all the enemies to lovers, and I also thought it was slow burn, but it's not. it's it's not. These people kind of just like each other right away, or like they say that they don't trust each other, but they're not showing it. So personally, not giving angst for me. It's not giving slow burn. Like, an example to me of like, these people do not like each other for the longest time. I would say that's like the Cruel Prince. Okay, that's like the blueprint. The Cruel Prince, while it is simple, it's the blueprint for enemies to lovers because they are enemies for a long time. And there's like some mild yearning, but mostly just enemies. But I don't know. They kind of seem like friends already, and I'm halfway through. So, a little disappointing on that front, but I am liking it. I am. I feel like I just dogged on it for so long, but I do really like this book. It is very fun. I would say 4 stars. Um, the only thing that could take me down to like a 3.5, 3.75 would be if the ending was just poor. So we'll see. I mean, hey, I am not too hard to please. I am not too picky. So it'll kind of have to be a really bad ending for me to not like this book. But definitely not 5 stars personally. If I had to put a reason, an exact reason as to why this would be 4 stars rather than 5, is that it's kind of reading a little bit juvenile. Like, a little bit. And I mean that in a nice way. As nice as I can make that sound. Um, I feel like I'm saying these things like I don't like this book. I do like this book and I am enjoying it. I am enjoying this book thoroughly. But it does read a little bit young, in my opinion. Like, just the way things are gone over and explored and explained. Are you catching my drift? Okay, I hope you are. Anyways, I feel like I am going to be able to finish this very soon. I mean, little less than halfway left. I'll probably finish this by tomorrow. I think I'm going to read one more book in this video. Not completely sure which one. I don't know, because I was feeling horror, but now I'm not sure if I am. I'll update you when I finish this book, okay? Yeah. Okay, also, earlier in this video, I did mention how I was reading the second book to this series on NetGalley, and I will say I loved it. I loved it so much. I love these characters. They just make me happy. I love it. Ooh! I love these characters so much. I loved how I'm holding the first book. Imagine this is a second book. Okay? It's not out yet. I don't have a physical copy. But if you heard my dogs barking, no, you didn't. What I loved most about the second book was the friendships. Okay, I am a sucker when it comes to characters. Okay, the plot can be a little bit iffy. You know, plot holes, sure, that's gonna happen. But what makes me like a book is the good characters. I love characters. Okay, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I love what is most important to me in a book is characters. The character arc throughout, main character, side characters, how they interact with each other. That is what makes a book to me personally. So in the second book, I really loved the way that we saw Rika progress. I've never heard that name actually said out loud, so it's Rika. Rika, I'm assuming. Rika Nunsuch. Love her. And just the way that she's kind of learning to open up throughout this book. I loved it. And the friendship, just overall, V, if you've read the second book, you know what I'm talking about. V, when we learn what we learn, I still love her so much. If you know, you know. But, anyways, it was so good. I rated it 5 stars. I'm so happy that I got to read it. I absolutely cannot wait until I can get my hands on a physical copy, and I cannot wait for the third book. I really hope that I can read that one as soon as it goes on NetGalley. Like, I will be there. Be there or be square. I will be there. Not square. I think I'm done recording for the night. I'm going to go read my book. Not this one, my other one. You know. Okay, y'all. I have finished The Phoenix King. And I'm having mixed feelings. Okay? Let me talk a little bit about it. Also, if you hear noises in the background, that is my brother. And I wanted to avoid this, but I just couldn't wait any longer to film, so this is the footage we're getting. Okay? Okay. So, I'll start off with saying that I rated this book on Goodreads 3 stars. Which is, pretty low for me. Personally, I rate things pretty high. I tend to know what I'm gonna like. So, most of the things that I read are 4 or 5 stars. So, 3 star is kind of just. 3 stars in my book is kind of bad. Middle of the road, leaning towards could have done without it. I do, however, have hope for the second book. I do think that the second book could push it to that level that I needed the first book to be. Okay. Now my main complaint, chief complaint with this book is that somehow everything is happening, like everything ever that could possibly be happening is happening, yet it's also slow. Now, I don't know how that's possible, but if you know, you know. Okay? Sometimes I feel like I sound crazy when I'm describing how books feel to me, but if you know, you know. Okay? Somehow incredibly fast paced, and like it's like we're skipping ahead to all these things that are happening, like boom, 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 quick succession. But also, man, is it taking a long time to do that? Like, um, personally, in the ending, I think that the last 70 pages of this book should have been scrapped. I know I can see why we ended the way things ended. I can see why she would want to end the first book from that point. However, I do think that the superior ending would have been after all shit went down, you know? Kind of like if you're reading a Sanderson book, it was kind of like you experienced the Sanderlanche, but then it just kind of kept going and kept going. And then the last like 10 pages were like good and like, okay, I see, like that's why she kept going, is to put those last like 10 pages in. But and like obviously I know logically there needs to be a way to get from point A to point B. So those 60 or so pages of buffer are necessary to keep the story going and just to get the point across. Why'd I put a T on that? But I do think this could have been done a lot better with some more help. I think with a little bit of editing, this could have been great because the writing style I loved. I love the fire bending concept. I love the royalty, the political intrigue, all that. Good, but there was just so much. Okay, at points I was just kind of getting tired of it, and I found myself skipping multiple pages just because like you could already infer what was happening and what was going to happen. And then I'd read about it and be like, okay, yeah, I knew that. Also, one thing about me is I do not like intentionally try to predict what the twists are going to be in the book. I just don't do that. But, however, I did see the twist in this book very early on. Like, it kind of seemed like the only option. So that was a little bit disappointing. That there wasn't much for me to figure out since I already kind of knew what was going to happen. But 3 stars. I could also stretch it up to 3.5 if I'm feeling like it. I do enjoy the main character. I enjoy the characters. I love the characters. Um, I'm a very character-driven person. So, you know, even though that the plot was kind of lacking in my opinion, the characters did make up for it. And that is why it's, it's a 3-star, not like a 2. Because I do think that this is a good book, but it could have been great. I will definitely be picking up the second book. I think I see more potential with the storyline of the second book. So I will be picking that up when it comes out. I think it comes out beginning of November. So I'll probably pick it up sometime around there. But yeah, I mean, overall, I am glad that I did read this. I have been anticipating this read for a while, so it is just like a little bit disappointing that I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, but I'm still happy to have read it. I think I read it at a good time where, I gave it as much attention as I could. I think this book definitely could have been rated worse had I been in a worse mood or like a more of a slump that I'm in. I'm kind of in a little bit of a reading slump, but I'm just pushing my way through it. If I was in more of a reading slump or feeling, more like depressed and anxious, then I definitely could have rated this worse. So I'm glad I read it when I did. I think it's good, but it could have just been great. It's good, just not great. Anyways, I have started on the next book for this video, and to be frank, I'm almost done. Okay, let me grab it. Okay, so A Botanical Daughter. Why is that such a tongue twister for me? I've tried to say that 3 times now. A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. This book, I'll just tell you like what it's generally about. It's about these 2 guys. One's a taxidermist. Is that how you say that? Taxidermist. The other one's a botanist. They both kind of work together to try and create this like sapient being made of plant matter. Now, this is very reminiscent of What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which is definitely why I really like it so far. I am 232 pages in, so I have like 140 pages left, so maybe an hour and a half of reading and I'll be done with this. I'm definitely finishing this tonight. But I read all of this at school today, and it's pretty solid. I will say it's not as horror-y as I hoped it would be. It's kind of, I don't know, in the same way that Frankenstein is horror, this is horror. Because, like, is it really horror? But, like it is, but is it? I did just read the chapter where I would say things get spooky or, like, freaky. Up until then, it's just kind of been, like, eerie, and it's more of a thoughtful book to me. More of, it just makes you think, rather than kind of freaks you out a little bit, which generally in my horror, I want to be uncomfortable. I feel like most people who read horror are going for that effect. I could be very wrong though, but other things that I like about this book are it's gay. Okay, lots of gay. Two different types of gay. Read this, you'll know. I also love the characters in this book. Of course I do. I love characters, okay? From the beginning and then when we start to move into when they get to work on their project, I was a little confused as just to how these characters, specifically how Gregor, um, what changed in his brain chemistry for him to do what he started doing. um, I feel as though that wasn't explored enough. I didn't really feel like I didn't feel his motivation to create this project, to create this being, because he did commit crimes to in order to do this morally and lawfully crimes. So I feel we missed something. I don't know. I would have liked for his character to be explored a little bit more, and just for me to understand, like, hey, how did he decide to do, like, why is he doing this? Why is he doing this? I want to know. Because he seemed pretty normal, a pretty normal guy at first, and then he starts to become freaky and weird very fast. I know that he has these fascinations with botany and he's very intelligent. He wants to research and he wants to create something great within his field of study. But it still feels like a huge jump for considering what he did. I don't want to say hardly anything about these books, by the way, if I'm being extremely vague. Sorry. I personally don't really like to know anything about the story before I read it. I like to just know the vibes. Okay? So, they do a thing. These characters do a thing, and that thing is morally incorrect. And the part that I'm at right now, getting even more morally incorrect, but I also kind of enjoy it. Um, you know, you know. Um, anyways, I'm gonna continue reading this, and I should just update you tonight as well because I don't have much left, and like the font is pretty big, I would say. So that is a botanical daughter. I will update you when I have finished. Okay, y'all. It is around 10 p.m. at night, and I just finished A Botanical Daughter by Noah Medlock. And honestly, I'm just feeling pretty middle of the road, pretty neutral on this book. This book is basically a kind of retelling on Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, which personally I did not like at all. That book was very hard to read for me, just with the language of it all. Even though it's only like 200 pages, it was just hard. I would say that this is a good version of Frankenstein. I found it a lot more interesting character wise. Also, just like the horrorness of it all just made it really fun. I did rate this 4 stars on Goodreads. Technically, it would be more around like a 3.75. Um, Obviously, you can't do that on Goodreads though. So, pretty good. I will say there was again like a part where I could have seen a better ending sooner on, but I see why he kept writing, and I see why the story kept going on. Because there was a different conclusion, but there was just this lull about 100 pages away from the end where it was like, I feel like this should be the end, but it obviously wasn't. I am glad that he continued the story because I think what was in those 100 pages was pretty essential to the book. It was enjoyable, but there was just getting over that jump of like boring was hard. There were a couple different endings that I was like thinking that he would end up going with, but turns out all of them were wrong. I did not predict the ending at all, so that was, I would say, a pleasant surprise. I think it really wrapped up the whole story very well. There was a very clear conclusion to this story, and I thought that was very well thought out. Okay, I don't have much else to say on this book. It's just a horror book, so I don't really have much commentary as compared to like a sci-fi or a fantasy book. There's just less to talk about. So 3.75, 4 stars. Solid horror novel. If you're into like T. Kingfisher, like the fungus and the creepy things like that, you'll probably like this. If you're looking for like slasher or like ghosty or anything, you're not gonna like it, but if you like weird stuff like this, you'll probably like it. Okay, you guys, these are the books that I finished in this video, not counting the one that I told you about that I was reading electronically. These are the physical books that I read in this video. Botanical Daughter, which I rated 4 stars on Goodreads. Phoenix King, which I rated 3 stars. And Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, which I rated 5 stars. Overall, very successful, I will say. I read 2 decently chunky books, but then this one was just a nice palate cleanser, I will say. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with the results that we got in this video. Happy to have read this book, one of my new favorites. I think it's probably my new favorite V.E. Schwab book. Darker Shade of Magic will always hold a special place in my heart, but I think this is her best work so far. Anyways, I don't have much else to say, so I'll leave you with that. Let me know in the comments if there's any other like reading vlog ideas that y'all have. I have a couple in mind, but let me know if there's a specific trend you want me to follow, and maybe I'll do it. So I will see you guys in the next video, hopefully very soon. Bye.